First though, UK science is for failing academics from ethnic minority groups. That's according to data collected for the higher education sector.
There are claims that many still face barriers such as lower pay and difficulty accessing funding when compared to their white counterparts. The figures are most stark for those from black backgrounds, as Nick Smith now reports.
Robert Makaya has spent decades dedicated to scientific research and education. But 5 years ago, he made a startling discovery about himself. That he is, still to this day, the only black chemistry professor in the whole country. It was quite a revelation, but Robert feels it's something which is endemic in science academia. At the higher levels, minority groups are very underrepresented.
Across the board, actually, the number of undergraduates, there's very good representation. But what then happens is when they move on to postgraduate studies, and of course, to be a professor, you have to do your PhD, then you have to go on to get an academic career, be a lecturer, and so on and so on. The numbers decrease quite significantly to a point where there's really, really very, very few that are still in that sort of academic pipeline. Because if you don't see anybody who looks like you in a senior position, in a senior role, it's very difficult for you to imagine yourself in that role. And so having role models and actually allowing people to come through the pipeline, that is really, really very, very important.
The Royal Society of Chemistry launched its own race and ethnicity unit last year, after their own research found less than 5% of senior managers across universities were from a non-white background. The Associate Pro-Vice-Chancellor at the University of Bath says higher education institutions are starting to recognise that there is a problem in representation within staff in certain subjects.
I think the first important thing is recognition that these barriers exist. Once we know what barriers are, we can put in place measures to reduce those barriers. And this is again where I'm more optimistic in going forward, because at least at Bath, we have taken a huge series of steps to put this front and foremost, both for staff and students.
In2scienceUK is one organisation trying to redress the balance. Hope Iloye is studying for a PhD in neuroscience after being offered support by the charity towards a career in scientific research.
I think in schools it's not sold to us as a career option much at all. Like, it's hard to imagine what you would be doing there and if it's for you. And I think lots of the time when I meet people and I introduce myself, I say what I do, lots of people are really surprised. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could be like a younger woman in science. I thought you had to be like an eccentric, posh white man. So yeah, I think it's really important.
Hope wants to show other people from similar backgrounds that it isn't a closed shop. But there's still a long way to go to ensure science is truly reflective of our multicultural society. Nick Smith, ITV News.